Hello and welcome to CIO Leadership Live New Zealand. I'm Kathy O'Sullivan, Editor-in-Chief for CIO in Asia Pacific. And joining me today is Paul Natac, Chief Information Officer at Provident Insurance. Paul was one of our CIO 50 in 2022 and has held several roles in a variety of industries from local government to retail. He's also the chair of IT Professionals Auckland branch and was once a contestant on The Apprentice. So we have lots to talk about. Hello, Paul. How are you doing today?
Really good. Thanks, Kathy. It's a really good opportunity to, be invited to talk. And look, I've just come back from holidays, so I'm rearing to go to get back into work, but also share some of my, mistakes, but also some of my learnings and how, how well things have gone.
Awesome. Looking forward to hearing more about that. So to kick things off, can you tell us a little bit more about Provident Insurance and maybe give us an overview of your role there?
Sure. I'm proud to say Provident Insurance is 100% Kiwi owned. All of our investors are from New Zealand or Aotearoa. We're actually predominantly a motor vehicle insurance company, and we do, also warranty services or mechanical breakdown. We also do loan repayment insurance. So if you can't pay your loan, we've got some insurance that can help meet that, or what they call gap insurance. If your actual insurance company don't pay up, we can pay the gap of it. We do also do technology insurance, so laptops. When you buy something on PB Tech, for example, we can warrant some of your hardware there. That's the starter. That's when I first joined. We've definitely got an aggressive strategy now. We were really reinventing our organization. It's really exciting times for us and also our investors.
So tell us a bit about your team and I guess your role there.
Yeah, sure. So Provident Insurance invested in technology quite recently, really in the last 5 years, starting with a virtual CIO coming into the organization. Years later, it was really identified that technology is not something that you do now and then. It's something that is continuous. And so I'm one of the first investments, actually, a couple of years back now. I came in as the head of IT. And then from there, really grew the capability of my team. Grew in numbers, but also grew in vendor partnerships. And so, I am Chief Information Officer now because there is more of a strategic mindset on how we're approaching things for the future. And laying down this digital strategy for the next 5 years is going to be important for our business.
And congratulations on that. It's great to see that investment and the fact that you do have that CIO role now. So I just want to walk things back, Paul. And can you tell us a bit about, what attracted you to IT as a career? How did you get your start in the industry?
Sure. It was, if you know a company called EDS, they had a student day. I went to school at St. Peter's College in Epsom, and they had some careers there where you get to choose where you spend a day at a workplace. And I chose EDS, and there were two gentlemen sitting in the boardroom chatting to us. And one of them said, I spent 6 months skiing and the other 6 months working technology. And so that definitely was the catalyst for me to go into the technology space. And that's what made me finish school, go to Natac, look at the Bachelor of Business Studies and major in management and IT, really. That's where I kind of started getting the love for it. And then it just progressed to my first daunting role at Telecom as manager of operation performance. I think I would have been 20 years old at the time. Network outages, system outages was what I was looking after. But at that time, they probably have a lot more Spark, 246 applications the team was monitoring. And so that was kind of my first role until I kind of had some mentors and also got a bit scared too, actually, as a 20-year-old, having to deal with so many outages and such serious things happening in my in my work life that I listened to my mentor and they said, hey, look, for you to be a good technology leader, you have to be a good business leader. And so I started jumping almost every couple of years, managing business units, really, from transport to retail, local government, arts, TV infomercials. I even managed teams in there. And then at some point I went, okay, I think I've had enough of business exposure. I'm going to go back to technology now and see if I can actually enable from the pain I received, because I've also come from the business side wanting technology enablement. And I found all this paperwork, all of this, lengthy governance processes, and I wanted to be on the other side of the court and be an enabler, not a showstopper. So
I love that.
Yeah. Yes.
I love that you've had that experience both in the business side and the technology side. So, I mean, has that shaped your approach to transformation in throughout your career? Having that lens from the business side, has that, influenced how you approach transformation?
Definitely. I look at transformation as something that I actually have been seen to be annoying in some organizations, because the organizations that don't like change, mostly the ones that found me annoying. But then I found that it was actually quite a positive thing to be able to challenge, why is that process being done that way? Oh, it's because it's been done that way. We'll just keep doing it. What value is it actually delivering? And then I just went, well, why don't I put this in the technology lens? So I'm always having to, even with my good ideas, I found that it's just can't be just from me. I have to find an owner in the business that actually loves that idea as well. And then they become the driver and I start taking the back seat. And so how I see transformation is that it really has to be driven from the business. There has to be a deep need. Just because, for example, before COVID, I really wanted us to go, when I was at Heart Foundation, I really wanted us to go to Microsoft Teams before Skype, because at the time I already knew the roadmap. Skype was going to be sunsetted and all that, but there was no driver for Teams. When I tried to kind of push that through myself, I realized what I actually needed was more like the business to really want it and love it. And since then I've just been doing that same recipe. Every time I find something, I look at a partner in crime to actually drive this the transformation and deliver the value. So how I see it is actually always my childhood habit anyway, disrupting the norm, and now I can do it in the workplace and hopefully add value to the organization.
So talk us through then, what does transformation look like for Provident? You've mentioned, there's a real growth appetite for growth there. So how are you tracking with your digitalization program?
So the good news is, before I arrived, there was already a little bit of a spark to invest, but the investment was not enough at the time. They needed someone to come in and tell a little bit of a story around what we need to do and what kind of sequence we need to do it, and actually even do it in a simple story, right? And explain it in a better way. And so from my chief executive's point of view, I remember him saying, I think it would have been maybe 3 months into the job, and he said, no, I've never understand IT until you've actually explained some of these things, right? And for example, I got asked, why do we have to invest on a budget on actually delivering resilience and backup, And I explained that when we're already backing up our stuff. And so I had to explain a story around, or let them imagine a burger. Someone says to you, hey, Kathy, save that burger for me. And someone says, yeah, okay, I'll save that for you for later. Yeah, sure. And but when I'm putting in the freezer, the person that's putting in the freezer to save it for you makes their own judgment and puts the lettuce in the bin, puts those, tomato in the bin. And then when you finally say 2 weeks later, actually, I'm ready to eat that burger I saved you to save, can you bring it out? And what you find is actually the bread and only the piece of meat, really. And so I had to explain to the board and also our chief executive and leadership team that what we have been saving, it hasn't in fact been what we've actually wanted in the first place, and therefore there needs to be money actually put aside so we can actually understand what it is that actually keeps our business alive. So that's just another analogy, Sometimes I use the house for cybersecurity, for example, and so for me, really, it's being able to let them understand in layman's terms, and that allows you to put through ideas. And
it's so important, isn't it? That storytelling aspect. I've heard a CIO being described as an explainer in chief. That it's your role to really drive it home to the business what the benefit is of these technologies.
and we're going to go into some mentors because I'll talk about them later. But one of my key mentors is he's passed away, which was Mark Denver. One of the things he said to me and one of our coffee catch-ups is we're not actually chief information officers, we're actually chief sales officers, chief marketing officers, because every day we're having to sell our ideas or be able to manage incidents and be able to sell that things are under control. And so we can actually implement plans. That's always resonated to me. And I tell anyone that I mentor or any of my team that every day we're actually selling something every day, every conversations we have, So.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, one of the areas that seems to be popping up every day now, and I know that boards and CIOs are taking interest in is AI, generative AI. It seems a day doesn't go by where ChatGPT isn't mentioned in some form. So is that something that your organization is looking at? Do you see any benefit from using AI in what you do at Provident?
The first thing is walking before running. At the moment, we've got a big program of work. You asked how our digital transformation has been going. It's been really busy. We implemented data warehouse. We hired someone that will lead that capability so we can become a data and insights-led business. We've also implemented a learning management system that'll create efficiencies, but also help us in our digital literacy, and we built an intranet, some things that a lot of businesses find simple, built intranet, redesigned our website, it was like old and dated, and we put it on a new platform. We also got our cybersecurity program implemented, so it's ongoing, as it's never, it's never ending. And also digitizing all our booklets and all our disclosure statements, for example, things that are really simple. So walking before running is what I call it. And now we're going to our biggest journey, which is replatforming our insurance platform. We're moving away from a dev shop to actually consuming a SaaS product really from UK with some trusted partners. And so that is our first step. The next thing around AI, though, is I can't be behind the eight ball. I also have to understand what's happening, but also our leadership too. So I'm slowly educating them around what ChatGPT is. Some of our partners at the moment are also experimenting and integrating with them. And so I've kind of put a bit of ice going, keep doing the research and that. I'm not ready to kind of talk too much about it because I got to focus on this year implementing this service.
Absolutely. I understand you're looking after the fundamentals at the moment. I guess in the same vein, then, are you looking across the Tasman? I mean, there's some changes there with regards to, I guess, fintech and consumer data rights and consumers having a lot more control over their data. When you're building your data warehouse and keeping an eye to the future while you're building the stuff you're building now, is that an area that you're kind of keeping an eye on?
Definitely. So part of the conferences I attended this year, like the Digital First Conference, it was spoken to a lot, really. That kind of started really perking my ears going, what is this all about? And creating this natural competition and more user rights for the consumer. This interesting concept, really. Some of it aligns to anyway our base design, which is allowing any information that Kathy might want to be accessible anytime. It's kind of like our design principle anyway, just in case Privacy Act, for example, you might need that. But opening it up using APIs or such, so actually other sources can access and give that equity for a consumer is something that I'm happy that our new partner, which is ICE InsurTech, their actual source system has and actually is already doing it. Like at the moment in UK, some of the customers they have already linked to aggregated insurance websites, sharing pricing, sharing products. So a consumer like Kathy, if you were in the UK, could actually choose which one is the best for you and not just be stuck just because that's the only result that came up on Google, for example, if the need came, So part of the investment we've made is getting ready for the future. So this solution is going to be API rich. We are in terms of fintech, for example, there was a lot of talk around embedded finance or embedded products in there. So if you've got some finance product that you're selling, you can also sell other products on top, because you already know who Kathy is, where her address is, what she's want to consume. So here's some other products that you can now consume without having to lift any more of your fingers. And then, so we are looking at making sure that we are future-proof in that case. So when we're talking about AI, it doesn't mean we haven't talked about it or thought about it. We are thinking about it. I actually use it on a daily basis, either creating poems for my wife, or I had to rush to do a job interview. We were putting a senior admin role in our organization, and I know how a situational based question is run or created, and I could probably go into my Google Drive and find some more templates, but I was running out of time. I simply used ChatGPT quickly, and then of course you have to still use your own brain, because worst thing possible is you submit something or use something where the facts are wrong, and so that's what I, instead of hide from it, I even gave a tutorial to our chief executive on what ChatGPT is, in the fear that he could probably potentially Google how what strategy should my CIO be giving me, and then challenging me on that. I am guilty of making my developers laugh, because I looked up, write me some code on PHP that chats to JavaScript and Java thing that does blah, blah, blah. And then I turned it around. I said, do you think that ChatGPT will replace you? And they just were shocked, that obviously it can't, because who's going to check all of that code and make sure that it actually operates? Who's going to test it? But so we're not hiding under a rock. It's just that if there were like 20 things we want to accomplish, I'm getting my team and organization to focus on our top 5.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's such a fascinating area, and who knows where we'll be this time next year when it comes to AI and indeed the CDR and the impacts of that for financial organizations or insurance companies, as you've mentioned. So, Paul, you're new into your role as CIO, although you've been with Provident a while now. So how are you, as the company's first permanent CIO, in what ways are you collaborating with and I guess influencing the leadership team and the wider organization? I mean, you've mentioned there that storytelling aspect. And what other ways are you influencing the organization?
So when I first arrived in the organization, I actually mapped out who are the influencers. Before I even sold ideas, I made sure that I actually knew who are the ones that actually make the decisions, or who can actually influence. Build some really strong relationships with them. So all I've done is, once I had that under control, then I duplicated that across to my colleagues now. How do I do that? I understand their business and then deliver. That's the only way that's going to deliver trust. Yeah, as soon as I promise something, I need to make sure I do lose sleep, because I know that a lot of these things that I promise, if I don't deliver, that gets in the way of that trust area. And trust is what actually really works in the business and gets you that seat on the table. What I'm enjoying now is I'm part of the strategic planning so we're looking at bigger markets. At the moment, we're predominantly B2B or business to business. Exciting for us. I can't say too much because it's strategic, but we are looking at the B2C market. It's a pretty big market, but you don't just delve in there with technology. You have to have the business and the process first. And that's exciting for me, and exciting to have a voice in there. I am always in for disrupting the market. We're going to bring in technology to APAC, which APAC hasn't seen before in this insurance. That's the reason we were really bold in our choice in ICE InsurTech and what they deliver under the hood. We've also partnered up with, an innovative award-winning company called Custom D to help us build our front interfaces. And so we're not here to participate. We're actually going to be here to disrupt, and it excites me. That's why I am signed up long-term with Provident, because if you look at my CV, I jump every couple of years, every 3 years, either by job or by company, because I like to just make some changes. I don't like just keeping the lights on. And so this excites me where we're going. I'm even my team excited. They're really from a team that were hesitant for change. Now they're excited not to know what's in front of them. And that kind of gets me going, because now I'm starting to duplicate some of my habits around, if you actually don't know something, it's actually quite an exciting thing, because you can help build it. So, for us, it's exciting. We don't know exactly what our horizon is yet because we're still doing the strategic workshops. But definitely our technology is there. We've also implemented AWS Connect recently. And so that, again, that helps our whole basis. So if you imagine Auckland struggle on infrastructure, and if you remember going to Japan, I went to Japan 20 years ago, and it was so lovely going onto the trains and the infrastructure. It was like, it felt like the infrastructure was built first and then the city, whereas Auckland feels kind of like the city was built first and then we try to build the infrastructure. I'm really happy because we did this right at the start, building the right solutions so they could potentially all integrate with each other. We've got chatbot capability and AWS Connect, but we just haven't turned it on because got to get, like I said, the people process side of things first. And so I actually don't have any excuses in the next 2 to 5 years in terms of increasing our GWP, and how much we actually become prominent in the insurance industry in New Zealand.
Well, it's an exciting thing to be part of and an exciting thing to watch. And yeah, the fact that it's a Kiwi owned and operated company as well, it makes it even more so. So Paul, I'd like to bring it back to, I guess, the role of CIO. Technology has been brought into sharp focus for a lot of organizations. Some have been caught short by their underinvestment in technology prior to the pandemic. Do you think the role of CIO itself has changed since the pandemic? And if so, in what ways?
Definitely. I believe in terms of the CIO role, it's changed a lot, even in titles. You see the chief digital officers coming about now. You've got a few more heads of IT roles coming into play where the business kind of tries to take in the technology strategic aspect and then kind of almost then delegate the more technical task to the head of IT kind of thing. So it's always been a battle for me to stay in that round table and say, hey, look, I can add value more than just technology. I can actually add value around planning and, restructures and general transformation that's not technology. And so recently we had a bit of a change in our organization where our basically a head of HR and admin decided to resign after years of service here. Instead of me just watching it, I just put my hand up and I said, let me handle this. Let me manage the transitioning. They said, let's restructure. I said, no, let's do that actually once the insurance platform's delivered, because then you don't want to be ripping the Band-Aid twice off. And so it was kind of cool. They saw a different side of me and how I've actually hired some people straight away, plugged the gap really quickly in a crisis situation. Because we didn't expect that at the moment with the insurance platform implementation like this, we need everybody to stay on board. We've got a lot of IP in people's heads and we need to get into that system. And so that was a bit of a shock. So, in terms of the CIO role, it's more and more you need to demonstrate if you want to stick in those C roles that you can actually give more value than just technology. You can actually help
absolutely. Yeah, definitely seeing a lot more of that cross-functional the CIO and chief digital officer being involved in a lot wider than just the technology part of the business. So what do you think are some of the, I guess, key attributes of a CIO when it comes to leadership, especially in this modern hybrid working age? What do you think would, what are some of the key attributes of a successful CIO?
Look, I think not having biases on vendors or technology is one thing. Having like a blank book until you actually understand what the actual business really needs. I call it organic delivery, like actually delivering exactly what they wanted, not you trying to build your own ivory tower, because I've seen even some of my own mentors try to build their own ivory tower, fill it up with 10,000 staff, and then you start to wonder, well, where's the value being delivered? What I try to do really is fit for purpose all the time. I even try to actually partner with vendors rather than create permanent FTEs, because I remember what we are. We're an insurance company. We should be doing that really well. And so that also drives in where our strategy is around moving away from development shop to actually handing that over to people that actually do that every day and are experts at it. And I have several clients that And then now you become another investor into their new capabilities. And then you can focus on what you do well, which is sell insurance from our perspective, for example. So I think that's another trait, being able to, hover over and say, hey, look, I'm not here to build a gold-plated technology department. I'm here to actually enable. Because sometimes you forget, you start going to conferences and you see all these cool things and you forget that it's not actually making your actual business grow, or whatever the delivery is. The last thing is, I'm really a fan of servant leadership. I was never that way. I remember studying at Bay Corp and I got nicknamed Hitler because I'd be doing return to work interviews, back to break interviews where, and target things. Now I've really grown into being able to nurture my teams, and be able to provide tools, clear roadblocks. And so I think servant leadership, although it's been talked about probably for the last 8-10 years, is still very relevant. If you try to manage the other way, which is kind of like I said, the Hitler way, it doesn't work well these days. You get that final resignation.
Tell me a bit more about that. How did you go from that, I guess, command and control type of management or leadership? How did you go from that to accepting that actually you need to be the servant leader? What prompted that, and how has it manifested for you?
It's mentors. So one of my mentors used to be a manager of mine. I can mention him here, so I can probably forward this video to him. Is Duncan Anoka. He's actually the father of 3 of Black Sox. I don't know if they're still playing at the moment, but they were. And I was working for him, and he didn't care. He wasn't watching what time I started, what time I finished. He was just watching my delivery. Is he delivering all the objectives I need him to deliver? And then he's providing the tools I need to do my job, clear the roadblocks. And I think it was one of the jobs I performed really well in, because I just felt supported. And didn't care if I worked late at night or worked in the weekends. I just felt like I could do what I want from my lifestyle too. And so that's why I try to enrich anyone that reports to me. After that, I went, gosh, I've been managing people all wrong, trying to watch if they're working 8 hours a day, trying to watch if they're actually inside the office. When I realized that even if they are inside the office, they could actually be doing a really bad job, not aligned to the values you want to deliver. So that was the turning point, really. So he can take credit for that. And I instill so I mentor other people as well. I instill that to them as well, that you don't actually have to, that's a waste of your energy and time trying to micromanage and that level. You'll be surprised what you do if you unleash and actually provide them with tools and support.
So is there anything else that you're doing, I guess, to create that, good culture that really helps your people feel connected both to the organization and to the team, and I guess your values, and how are you keeping people, instead of them looking for that new job every 12 or 18 months, how are you keeping them connected?
So very transparent conversations. I know out of all my direct reports how long they're potentially with me. I know where they want to grow. I know where they want to go in their career. My main purpose is to keep them as useful as possible to the organization for a certain amount of time that actually doesn't impact on our organization. So those transparent conversations really help. I also call it organic packages. So when the tax year for us ended, I knew what kind of packages they need to be for me to be able to keep them, and no silent resignation. So those type of transparent conversation and opportunities. So one of my developers here, he's always wanted to be a lead developer. And when do you give someone like that a chance on a big crucial project where you're changing the insurance platform? People will probably say crazy, but I said, yeah, let's do it. And but he supported. I've got a lead developer supporting him, and also I got an architect supporting him, and also custom the project manager there supporting him, right? First day, obviously I have to let the chief executive know that I'm doing this, and he was first he wanted, then he was very supportive, because I think that's the only way. Live action is the best way I learned. So, and it displaces, I get control of how much we nurture. I actually nurture failing. If you fail, what I mean is I support it. If you fail, as long as you learn, and where it went wrong, and we do it differently, then I'm all for it. It's very supportive. And so at the moment, I had a meeting with him, I think last week, and so from the first day he looked lost, and because we have work streams, we've got about 11 work streams, and he was leading it. The first time he was stuttering, and I had to chip in here and there. Today we had a status meeting with the whole project, and he gave his status meeting very confidently, and he's just starting to grow now. And I just reminded him that it doesn't get easy; you just become tougher. So each time you get something, you'll be like, "Done it before. It's still tough, but." I know how to do this now. And so I think the best way as well is being able to give opportunities where you can, and having a backup plan. So I was transparent. I said, look, if you fail, we've got a backup plan. Someone will take over, because I don't really want to do, this fake, and I fully trust you. You're very competent. You also have to be really transparent going, I know you're not fully competent, but we're going to support you. You're going to, get there, because it's also a way to actually keep team members understanding exactly where they want to go, and not just by salary package or car park. It's also understanding, how do I really, I use the word organically all the time. I just use it to say real, not really just by political tick box, because there's a lot of that happens in organization where you just do a tick box to say, oh yeah, I'm engaging my team. But that doesn't work in the real world. And so I actually got someone so I got a team member that left, the senior BA that went to UK, but who replaced her? Well, someone that used to work for me. And he came over because he said, don't advertise the job. I'll jump in there, because he enjoyed that environment where you can just thrive and just be looked at your objectives and be supported.
Great to hear.
So that's what I do, really. It's the apprentice show you talk about years ago, you will see there that I asked to be fired on the 6th episode, because I'm all about personal branding as well. I just, when New Zealand's too small, a lot of the people that used to report to me will see this is not actually me. And so I'm actually just limiting my chances on employment in the future if I don't win, because it's showing this different side of me that's ruthless, trying to get people that I know didn't actually do anything for the challenge to kind of go wrong. And so that day I actually said, just fire me, because actually my branding and the way I manage people is more important than people watching TV and go, this is all bullshit, So anyway, that's how I see things. I think that you really need to manage people like they're like human beings and adults, and be transparent.
Absolutely. Yeah. And look, you mentioned there about, helping that person at work and letting them know that, things might not go right, or, you do become tougher as you go. So what are some, I guess, the mistakes that when you look back on, even though they might be uncomfortable, they really shaped you as a leader? Is there anything that stands out for you?
Yeah, definitely. I guess it's being able to know that no one is indispensable. One of my biggest mistakes, I remember when I was in Bay Corp at the time, the general manager back then was Brian Jones. I was a bit of a star there at the time, and I got a couple of offers happening from Vodafone and Telecom at the time. And I threw it in his face going, hey, look, you might need to counter offer here, because I'm going to choose one. And long story short, he didn't counter offer. And I learned at that point in time, it's not really about being replaceable. Everyone is. I needed to work hard on my value proposition. It's not good enough just to do a job. It's being able to understand how much money you can actually increase the company, how much you can, like when I was at Heart Foundation, how I can create value by delivering tools that will save lives. So it's depending where you are. And so some of my common mistakes early on was thinking my value was more than what I thought, and now every day, actually, I think about what can I do differently to actually reach the goals of whoever I work for. So for my organization at the moment, writing more insurance as our goal, and having our investor returns as our goal. So every day I'm thinking about how can I save more money? How can I negotiate harder and take millions off some of our contracts? How can I make a digital part so we can actually get more of a customer segment that we've never had before? And so my biggest mistake is I overvalued myself. Now I'm actually going, no, actually, I need to actually have real measures that show what I actually deliver as a leader. And no one's dispensable. So I look at some of these other people that I run into in the industry and just see how arrogant they are on their roles, and I'm like, I wish they learned some of my lessons in the past, where you have to remember everyone is very dispensable. So you have to every day think about, what am I doing? Even like a 20-second elevator lift, if you were asked, what value do you deliver? You have to be ready, and also to justify your team and what value they deliver. So that's what I learned. No one is indispensable. Everyone is actually replaceable.
So talking more about the team then, another factor in successful teams is diverse teams. And, New Zealand does have a problem. It is, has traditionally been very male, very white, very Pākehā. It is changing, but perhaps not at the level of some other industries. Are there any things that you have learned along the way, I guess, in opening up IT to a variety of communities, different ways of thinking? What can we do on a practical level as an industry to attract people from different walks of life to consider IT as a career?
Yeah, definitely. It's a loaded subject, isn't it? It's something that because when I was young, I actually used to play rugby at Marist in Pamuel, and I can only remember one person in the technology industry there. And then more recently, as part of the chairman for the Auckland ITPNZ, I get invited to different workshops to really promote more Māori and Pacific Islanders. And what I find is a recent workshop I attended at Auckland University, they were they had no role models, to look up to. They thought that technology is quite impossible. Even as simple as, because we had some, they broke us up into groups, and each group had a couple of professionals helping them do the presentation. Even as simple as actually presenting something professional or acting professional, they struggle with, I don't blame them, because they didn't have the mentoring as I had. I also had the GM of Bay Corp, Victor, when I was younger, had earrings on, and I said bro a lot, and he put me under his wing, saying how I should behave, how I should take up golf, meet different people, but not everyone's lucky to run across someone like that to actually help them. And so I really think it's similar to that EDS experience I had. We really need to go to grassroots, really. So when I was at the Heart Foundation, we were implementing a consumer-based heart health measurement tool. And I remember we started at Heinz Watties, and we had the Heart Foundation van, and they were going inside there. And a lot of them didn't want to do the test until I said, hey, I used to play rugby, and I changed my accent a little bit. It's like, oh, yeah, bro, and my work colleagues were like, what are you doing? But then a lot of them kind of put down their guards. They wanted to do the test. And I think that we need to do the same in terms of promoting technology roles and the career in some schools, and getting into more grassroots, and getting more people, maybe potentially like myself or some other colleagues that are Pacific Island or Māori or in the minority, to spend some time in schools to show them that they're not just roles around coding. They're not just roles around what are the more complex ones, maybe agile, scrum master. There are things like relationship management, things where you're using different aspects of your skills, not just mathematics and science. So I don't think they're aware of that there's several roles that you can actually get into to get into the technology space. So I really think that we need to do more there. We are doing a little bit in ITP around that, getting mentors in contact, and also getting into schools. But I think the coordinated effort is what's missing. We've got different organizations trying to do different things here and there. So I really think there needs to be some coordination so we can actually get things changing.
Yeah, it's such a massive area, and it is, as you say, it's great to see the initiatives that are happening, but perhaps a more coordinated approach in some cases. So look, Paul, you've mentioned quite a few times, you've had a variety of mentors in your career, which I love to hear. What is some of, I guess, the best career advice you've received? Or alternatively, what advice would you give to someone who is aspiring to be a CIO or an IT leader?
I think definitely I am a fan of that movie that Will Smith was in. But basically, he sees someone with a Ferrari and just goes straight to his door. Or Pursuit of Happiness, I believe. And just ask that person, "How did you get that car? What do you do?" kind of thing. That's all I've done, really. Filled myself up with a few mentors. Ensured I stayed humble, that I don't know everything. For example, the mentors, I knocked on every door. There's people in even my network now that probably realize now that they said no to me. And I felt no shame. I asked, "Could you mentor me?" And there's people just don't have time. So what I do now is when someone asks me, I put aside time. It might not be tomorrow, it might not be in 2 weeks, but I do put aside time because I remember some of the doors that closed in front of me. But then I do remember some of the cool ones as well. Like I've got one, CIO of United Nations that helped me. I've got Heart Foundation in Canada that spent time talking to me. And so, but there were a few doors closed. So my advice is for jobs, for mentoring, for anything in your career, there's going to be plenty of doors closed. Keep knocking because they will open, and keep that confidence up. Because at the end of the day, it's like golf. You should only be challenging yourself. Don't look at what's happening next to you. Just do what you do well, and be true to yourself. If you deliver natural value to an organization, people will knock on your door. Like the last 3 roles I've had, they're from shorter taps, really. So the job I got at Rivera, and then the job I got at Heart Foundation, and then this one, they were actually introductions. And so, I'm hoping that continues on where I can actually just get an introduction because they know what value I deliver. And
fabulous. So I love that. Keep knocking, and eventually they come knocking on your door.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And that's happened now, and I've seen the change in people. But I'm not gonna lie. I've changed my behavior on people that knock on my door. Really a lot more opening now to help out, because I remember that experience of someone asking you and then either getting ghosted or just not being, or being given a response that's unreasonable, like 6 months time or something. I'm just like, well, okay. So I definitely learned from that and trying to use it in a positive manner.
Great. So then finally, Paul, you've mentioned there you've got a lot of work on your plate. And what's important to you in the months ahead?
So months ahead, really, my team is involved in enabling our business, our CFO and her team around IFRS 17. It's basically some regulations on how we report and also manage what we put aside as reserves so we can pay out if we need to. It's the most simple way I could probably explain, and that really needs to be delivered, or else we can't actually exist. So it's a priority for my team. And then the secondary one is this insurance platform. This is due to unlock all of our potential and also increase our revenue or GWP. And then it unlocks a bigger future for us. Like I said, I'm trying to not get excited. Let's walk first, implement this well. And then, but obviously we're planning. I'm quite excited, but I'm trying to get my team to make sure we keep the eye on the prize. Because every day there's issues. It's a massive undertaking. From just the migration to the new technologies that we're undertaking to our existing customers having the change management done upon them. So it's a new portal that they're accessing, that kind of stuff. So there's a lot of detail. 11 work stream is quite a busy situation for us. So that's my focus, really. And no more holidays. I've had my gallivanting in the sunshine the last 3 weeks. So hopefully when we talk in November, December, I can tell you it was a success. And now we can get to the sexy stuff like AI and automation and all the buzzwords that's happening out there at the moment.
Wonderful. Well, in the meantime, we wish you and the team at Provident Insurance all the best with the months ahead. Paul Natac, Chief Information Officer at Provident Insurance, thank you so much for your time
Thanks,
today.
Kathy, for the opportunity again. Thank you.